Hearthstone Global Games is an epic country versus country tournament where teams of 4 card slingers each clash for national pride.
But in the end, the UK always wins.
Wait, everybody knows it's Germany always wins.
Aren't you Polish?
Is winning all that matters?
It's all about fun and getting along with your teammates.
That's easy when their skills are legendary.
Or in this case, you have an ace player who will never let you down.
So we're gonna see the same old archetypes then?
No, every team needs to bring all 9 classes.
So we're gonna see Hunter?
I wonder.
So let's recap. It's 4 regions, 48 countries, but
only one winner.
Get ready.
for the Hearthstone
Global Games. Welcome everybody to the Hearthstone Global Games. We are into the last week of Stage 2, so it's starting to get a little bit juicy. We're going to find out who's going to be heading to those last 16. My name is Dan. He's also Dan. How you doing, Dan?
I'm doing pretty good, Dan. How are you doing, Dan?
We're doing great, Dan. It's been a fantastic time across the past, 12 weeks we've been through now? I think this is week 13. And now we get to finally see who is going to be pushing forward. Let's take a look at the format just to recap, you guys. We already had Stage 1. There were 8 groups of 6. It was a 10-week round robin. And the top 3 from each group moved on to Stage 2, Dan.
Stage 2, which we're now at the end of, was just a 3-week round robin. There's a lot of R's there. Struggled with that one a little bit. We're at the end of that now, but we're going to end tomorrow with only 16 teams left for top 16. Let's take a look at the groups in the 3-week round robin. Group A, China, Singapore, Malaysia, Norway.
I mean, they're all starting to take shape now. There's going to be lots of ifs and buts and tiebreakers that we're going to go through to see who's going to be moving forward. Of course, it's the top 2 from every group, but we also have those 3rd place finishes as well.
They're all taking a very similar shape as well. We've got 2-0, 1-1, 1-1, and 0-2 in almost every group. So we've got this funny situation where we could end up with this crazy 3-way tie in a lot of the groups. And if we end up with that in, I think it's 4 different groups, then things get complicated because the top 3 third places go through as well as the top 2 in each group. So we don't really want many 3-way ties. That complicates things.
3-way ties do get complicated. We might have them later. Let's have a look at the schedule then for today. First game coming up on your screens, Malaysia versus Norway. Norway fighting for their lives against the Malaysians. Then later on you can see Philippines, Korea, China, Singapore, New Zealand, Taiwan, Belgium, Czech Republic, and then we finish things off with Greece versus Ukraine. Definitely an exciting day.
Well, I'd say this is a day of Hearthstone worthy of the title Year of the Mammoth. We've got the same today and the same tomorrow. 6 games, HCT this weekend. Pretty good week for Hearthstone.
Yeah, a lot of Hearthstone to come. Let's have a look then at the rosters for the first game of the day. If you don't know these players by now, where have you been for the past 12 weeks? Chonga, Lalasong, Gilgamesh and Revenge CCS from Malaysia, and then the Norwegian boys, Zorkthar, Hunter 8, Diggen and Zires. I mean, Norway, clearly my team, because I designated them as I think they were going to move on and win the whole competition. However,
well, they're going to have to work pretty hard to get there now, Dan, as they're sitting 0-2. I believe we've established between us that they need to win 3-0 to have any hope of progressing now.
They do, which is going to be a tough situation, but I think they are more than capable of doing so. I think you know what time it is, Dan. It's time for one of my fun facts. What do you want first, Norway or Malaysia?
I want Norway, as we've got Norway up on screen right now.
All right, did you know, in the 80s, Norway introduced salmon sushi to Japan?
Oh, okay. Malaysia?
Yeah. Well, no, I guess just everyone, really.
No, your Malaysian facts, please.
Oh, I see. So not like introducing salmon sushi to Malaysia.
No.
I was going to say just the whole world learnt about it. Malaysia, I mean, I've got lots of facts. Did you know they have the largest flower in the world?
And how big is it?
It's about a yard when it's extended.
A yard?
Yeah. But it does produce a pretty vile smell.
Is it like Sherazan corpse flower? Is it one of these like man-eating ones?
It's funny you say that because its nickname is the corpse flower because it smells pretty bad.
Look at all the links going on here.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
That's just lucky, I think. But there we have the first game of the day. Lalasong versus Hunter Race. It's going to be Druid versus Rogue. It is best of 5. Every class is brought by both countries. And if it's 2-2, we get to that ace match. That is why you will see 2 players, one player playing twice on each side.
Yeah, it's going to be, as you said, it's going to be the Druid versus Rogue. It's a blind pick. They've already determined what order they're going to be playing in, what the pairings are going to be, and then they choose when they see their opponent's 2 decks. And yeah, I'm really excited to see how this goes. Norway, as we've said, they're going to need to work really hard. There's Hunter Race, as I pointed out last week, the most Norwegian person that you'll ever speak to or ever see.
Did you say Hunter Race or Hunter Ace?
I say Hunter Race.
Is it
Probably
Hunter
wrong,
Race?
though.
I mean,
No, I think you're right. It's Hunter Ace.
It's just Hunter Race.
Lala Song, Team Malaysia, one of his teammates there with him. Just Hunter Ace.
Maybe they'll have a Hunter Race next season. There's currently a Warlock race this season. People trying to get to Legend with Warlock.
There is a Warlock race. I think I'll just join the petition to get Hunter Race to just add an extra R to his name.
Yeah.
Just so that
better.
so I wasn't horribly wrong about that.
I mean, I think you were a little bit wrong about it, but it's
Hunter
okay.
Ace. Hunter Ace. Well, I think we're going to start the game, Dan.
Just about. And Quest Rogue for Hunter Ace, and not entirely surprised, Quest Rogue was the most popular deck that's been brought to the HCT this week. Actually, all rogues that have been brought to the HCT are Quest Rogues.
Right.
No miracle, no crazy stuff. On the other side, we have Token Druid, also seems to be pretty popular as well. Not quite as popular as the Jade Druid, that's just one extra deck, actually.
At HCT?
Yeah, at HCT, yeah.
It's funny because at the start of this expansion, it looked like Aggro Druid was the big deck. It was the one it was the new Pirate Warrior, the one you'd hit the ladder with, get to Legend as quickly as possible. But no, as time has gone on, people have decided, I know that Lorinda has been a huge advocate of Jade Druid for quite some time, but people have decided, hey, this deck is actually just better. Though, Lala Song, gonna go with the Aggro Druid and gonna be rewarded in this matchup. This is one of the specific matchups where the Jade Druid can struggle a little bit because the Rogue gets to its win condition first. But Aggro Druid tends to be pretty good here.
I mean, this is the matchup that you would want. When you are queuing against a Quest Rogue, you really want to have Aggro Druid, and as soon as that becomes apparent to Norway and Hunter Race, they are going to be slightly, well, let's say upset, because as we mentioned, they need a 3-0 result to be able to move forward to the next phase.
So how are Norway going to achieve that? Well, Backstab's going to help them get the Enchanted Raven off the board to start with, but they need to pick up Glacial Shard, they need to pick up Shadow Step, they need to get that quest complete as soon as possible. They've got Swashbuckler, which will bring forward patches, which will be a great little anti-aggro tool near the start of the game. As I say, Backstab's going to be very helpful. Igneous Elemental could get them to their quest completion fast. Preparation, going to allow them to complete that quest a little bit faster, but they need just a few more little bits to get there.
Now, if you are new to the global games and you notice that Hunter Ace having a little chat with himself, he's actually chatting to all of his teammates because all 4 players can discuss however they want via whatever means they like, any program, any tool. And we've also seen a lot of teams gather in the same room, as you can see Malaysia doing so. And when I was speaking to Zorkthar recently, he was saying that all the talk doesn't put them off their game. Actually, they get very emotional, very passionate, and it really helps them focus on the game ahead.
Very passionate Greece, another team that like really feel the passion in their communications. Other teams, they say to each other, you know, if you've got nothing worthwhile to say, then don't say anything. So communication definitely affects different teams in different ways. One of the big advantages that you can get in the Hearthstone Global Games is making good use of that communication. Growing and learning together how to communicate with each other. Now, Malaysia, they're just having to decide how all in they want to go here. They can just play the Firefly and the Flame Elemental, or they could innovate out Vicious Fledgling and play the Firefly.
Yeah.
I definitely like the look of that play, Dan.
I mean, the only downside to it is it messes up your curve ever so slightly, and you don't know where you're going to get the follow-up, whereas if you were to wait, you could play Druid of the Claw when you innovate it out. But, I mean, if you have the option to put a Fledgling on the board, usually you just put the pink bird on the board.
You're an aggro Druid. You'll draw something to fill out the curve, no problem. The other thing is that you've just seen Hunter Ace has already used a backstab.
Yeah, exactly.
So that Fledgling is safer than it would be if you hadn't already seen a backstab. But Malaysia going to have to make their decision right now. Innovate comes down. Fledgling and Firefly jump onto the board.
Yep, and as expected, I mean, I think Malaysia were still having the discussion of, well, how can they remove this Fledgling? How detrimental is it to our game?
Oh.
If there's a way to remove it, well, there is a way to remove it. Perfect timing. That could have been good night to Norway if they hadn't have actually got that backstab, to be honest.
Hunter Ace hanging in by the skin of his teeth already. Backstab off the top. Oh, look at the reaction from Malaysia. Just the frustration there. I'm sure that the word top deck was used somewhere in that conversation. Look at that.
I love that he's cuddling his Hearthstone pillow as well.
It's cute.
You got one?
No, I don't.
I do. I cuddle it sometimes.
If I had one, I'd have it right here, Dan.
You would?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll remember that next time.
Cuddling it while casting.
I mean, as a big World of Warcraft player, I always carry my Hearthstone around just in case I need to travel quickly. But
Fatal flaw in my strategy there. Yeah, Malaysia picking up the Mark of Your Siraj there to fill out the curve. Managed to push some damage in, but they're not able to draw anything. And now, if they pick up one of their other 5 drops next turn, they're just not going to be able to do anything, which could be a bit of a problem. They do not want to be slowing down here.
Yeah, that's exactly what Hunter Ace will want, to be able to just get as much time to try and complete this quest. It does mean that the backstab is usually used, or can sometimes be used, to kill off your own Igneous Elemental, but thankfully, there is a big juicy 3/4 Firefly already on the board that they can contest with and be able to get some elementals into their hand to try and complete the quest. But there's no bounce back effects yet, Dan.
Now that's a little bit frustrating. Patches shooting out the cannon there means that Hunter Ace can get rid of the 1/2 Flame Elemental if he wants to. I imagine that's where he's going to go here. But something like a Living Mana would just shut Hunter Ace down now. He doesn't have a Vanish to actually answer it. If he did draw Vanish, then he could have essentially prepped out the Vanish and just removed all of Lala Song's mana. But now he's used the preparation as well. So if there is a Living Mana, there's no way back from that.
This is why I love Swashbuckler. And I say I love it, I also hate it at the same time when I'm playing against it.
Right.
Because they can find outs and they can find methods and tools to deal with things that they usually wouldn't be able to deal with. And that can be very frustrating to play against, but it also can be extremely entertaining to play with.
Things are going downhill for Malaysia now that they seem as though they've just sort of run out of steam. They weren't able to play anything onto the board on turn 4, so they play the Savage Roar just to push 5 damage to the face, which is fine. It's playing nice and fast, but just not getting them anywhere. And as you just pointed out, Firefly picked up.
Firefly
oh,
helps. They just need 1 bounce back now, so I imagine Novice Engineer will come up first to draw. The only fear for Hunter Ace in Norway at the moment, and hello, there it is, just right on time.
Well, there's 6 in the deck, right? So it's pretty likely that they pick one up. Unfortunately, I think you were about to get to this, but they can't complete the quest in the next 2 turns. Because they have to play all 3 of these Flame Elementals. They cost 1 mana each. They bounce 1, they can do that for free, but then they need to play the 5 mana quest. So because preparation's gone, it looks like we're 2 turns away from completion.
So they'll probably go down the route of just trying to build as big a board as possible, hope that Lala Song is forced into maybe trying to trade with some of it, and hope there's no Living Mana. Living Mana would be pretty detrimental at this point. Just all that damage that could be heading towards your face.
I like this though, Shadow stepping out the Firefly, playing for maximum resources, going to make that board as big as possible. Next turn, play all 3 Flame Elementals, and the turn after, aim to complete the quest. Second Savage Roar isn't going to do anything unless, you know, Lala Song decides to just deal with the Firefly. But no, it's Druid of the Claw this turn.
Yeah, it's Druid of the Claw, but how do you play it? Do you play it with charge and just send 4 right to face, take them down to 12, then the following turn you've got another 8, 9 if you want, if your Druid of the Claw survives, combining it with Savage Roar. So any kind of, I mean, patches off the top would be nice.
Okay, so Lala Song knows exactly what's in Hunter Ace's hand. They're all Flame Elementals, which means they were all generated by another card. So as long as someone from Team Malaysia are keeping track, then they know what's in the hand. They know the quest isn't going to be completed next turn. They know it's coming the turn after. So I think charging into one of the minions seems unnecessary. Therefore, I do like this play, hitting the face like you said.
All that helps.
In theory, Norway would have had to take 4 face damage and also trade everything in if they were going to deal with this Druid of the Claw. So actually that play made perfect sense, but now with the pickup of the Glacial Shard, Hunter Ace can just freeze the 4/4. I expect Lala Song is not going to look too happy about this.
This is looking perfect for Hunter Ace and Norway. At the moment, it looks like they're kind of on track to win a very unfavorable game. We need a considerable draw now from Lala Song. Bloodcell Corsair will draw patches, but they can only trade into 2 tokens, and there's still going to be 25 left on board.
It's more than enough. This game is over. Hunter Ace, after that, what looked like a horrible matchup, going to take it away. Now, don't forget, this follows last week when Hunter Ace won a matchup against Pirate Warrior with this deck, which looked unwinnable. He got the perfect bounces with the Glacial Shard then. This guy knows how to play Quest Rogue against aggro decks.
I mean, that Glacial Shard off the top was absolutely massive.
And it was
for him, and
glacial,
you could
yeah.
see that he was having a little grin, and you saw how detrimental that was to Lalasong as well. He was saying any other card, and we maybe had a chance.
It's funny because it was Glacial Shard that won him the game against the Pirate Warrior last week too. So he's just very good at drawing that card when he needs to draw it.
Yeah, very good. And speaking to Zorkthar, he was saying that Hunter Ace, actually, his favorite class is Priest. So if you can be good at Priest and Rogue, then you're in a pretty good situation. Game number 2 is going to be Diggen versus Gilgamesh, and it's going to be Shaman versus Warrior. I'll give you another fun fact, Dan, about Norway.
Oh no.
Did you know they once knighted a penguin? The Norwegians.
What did the penguin do?
Well, it's a penguin that was from a Scottish zoo. And the Norwegian Kingsguard, they went to this zoo, and they were very taken aback by this penguin. So they decided to keep promoting it through the ranks, and eventually they knighted it because they were so happy with it. It didn't do anything in particular.
They're just happy with it, just nice pets.
It's pretty famous. There was like 100 or so people at the zoo to applaud this penguin when it got knighted.
They like the way he waddled along.
Exactly. I'd be pretty happy about it.
Yeah.
It would be unfair if I didn't give a Malaysian fact now as well, I think. Did you know? The king of fruits.
It's going to be a long day.
The king of fruits grows in Malaysia. And you might be saying, oh, Dad, what's the king of fruits? I think it's called the durian. But, and there's a big but, it's actually banned in a lot of Malaysian hotels because of the smell. Yeah, apparently it smells like pig poo mixed with sweaty socks. So I don't really want to try the king of fruits, if I'm honest. As we now move into game 2, Gilgamesh versus Diggen. And Diggen is apparently the more calm and collected member of the team. Everyone else, a bit emotive, a bit passionate, gets down and dirty to the business, but Diggen's there to just chill out.
Yeah, again, let's remember what I said last week about Diggen. All he does is play Hearthstone. Apparently he doesn't sleep either.
Wow.
But he just plays Hearthstone. He lives and breathes it, like I'm sure a lot of us do. Gilgamesh now taking over from Lala Song. Going to be playing the, looks like a token Shaman. Flame Tongue Totem is the only real card that's signaling that to me, though.
Yeah, most likely Evolve Shaman, certainly through the HCT decks. I think we've had 7 Evolve Shaman submitted and just 1 Jade Shaman. The interesting factor with Evolve Shaman is people are still tweaking with it. Of course, the Sea Giant was the first inclusion instead of 1 Devolve. Now we're seeing 2 Sea Giants instead of both Devolves in some decks. There is 1 Devolve there, so that's not going to be the case for Gilgamesh. We're also starting to see Barnes now being included in Evolve Shaman, which does make sense. I can understand why.
Barnes is such a strong combo with Evolve. It makes you wonder why it wasn't used before. You can just Barnes out a thing from below and then Evolve, and suddenly you've got, for 5 mana, a 7-drop and a 5-drop. Norway, with patches in hand. It's got to be mentioned every time this happens. It is a big deal. When you draw patches, you lose the ability to play 2 minions on turn 1. You lose the ability to play Nuzos First Mate and patches. You also lose a card draw, essentially, because you would have drawn the patches for free. So whatever is the next card on your deck, you draw 1 turn later, etc. So can't really be understated.
You also lose your mind.
You also lose your mind. You do.
I'm gone by that point. If patches is drawn, that's me out.
You've just conceded already?
Well, yeah. There is going to be patches for Gilgamesh, however. And see, this is always the awkward situation when you could play Bloodsail Corsair. Yes, okay, you can get rid of 1 of the weapon charges. But do you save it for when you can actually physically destroy a weapon? Because you know of all the potential buffs that can come out from Pirate Warrior? Or is this just a position where you cannot wait?
It's tricky. I think it very much depends on the situation, like later on. If you can, if it's like turn 4 and you've still got 1, then you wait for an Arcanite Reaper to come down and hopefully destroy that later. Right now, you're destroying a Rusty Hook. But the tempo swing of getting patches out is pretty huge. And also, what else are you doing this turn? So I can see the logic to doing it. I don't know, Dan. It's really tricky. I think you have to just pass, yeah.
I like the pass. It is very passive. And it is scary to be passive against a Pirate Warrior.
The problem is now, if he draws patches, then he basically just lost the game off of the back of that. So it is a risk. It's only a 1 in 25 risk, but it is a risk.
It does mean that, in theory, he can coin out his Flame Tongue Totem this turn as well in conjunction with patches.
That's strong.
Get rid of
that
so there is a
3/3.
way, yeah. To clear the 3/3 and clear off some of this weapon if Diggin actually pushes face. If Diggin has some sort of read and says, well, actually, I want to keep this, the Fiery War Axe may just encourage him to push face, though.
Yeah, the thing is, it's kind of inconsequential. I don't think Diggin would care if the Rusty Hook got destroyed. I don't think Malaysia would care too much about destroying it. I think that just having patches out is more valuable than worrying about the weapon destruction now at this stage in the game. I agree with you. I think Flamestone Totem Coin Blood Cell Corsair seems pretty strong. Nice early volcano eruption. I can see it coming up.
I love a nice early volcano eruption. It's always the best way to get a day started. As Norway currently 1-0 up, as we touched upon, they really need to be winning this series 3-0. Currently, China top of their group, Malaysia just behind at 1-1, and then Singapore also on 1-1 as well. Norway 0-2 in their group. I mean, it's tough for them because even a best third place is going to be really difficult because they're already at a 2-6 score difference. So
And the
that's
problem
why
is,
the 3-0 would be great.
when we might end up in this situation where 3 of the groups end up with 3 ties. Three ties for 3 teams with, oh my goodness.
Lots of ties happening
All
now.
right, ties where 3 of the teams have 2 wins and 1 loss.
Yeah.
And if that happens with 3 of the groups, then anyone that doesn't get 2 wins is just out. So it's struggle for Norway even if they win this 3-0, but it's so important just for that little chance. Little chance to get through to top 16, little chance for that extra prize money. They want to win 3-0.
Yeah, their hope is they win 3-0 and Singapore lose 3-0, and then actually they would just automatically qualify, Dan.
Right.
So they don't even need to worry about that third place tiebreaker. Devolve, very important. For Malaysia, but Dirty Rat is a big pickup.
Hang on a sec, Dirty Rat, and then is that Emerald Hive Queen?
Yes, the Emerald Hive Queen is of course going to stall Norway's aggression ever so slightly, but there is still a lot of power on that board.
I'm sorry, but that's one of the unluckiest Devolves I've ever seen. Look at the amount of stats that are still sitting on the board here. The 3-3 became a 2-3. The Frothing Berserker became a 2-6. Like, they're still good stats.
Yeah, there isn't. There's not really any way for Gilgamesh to do anything about this.
And the Zoth's first mate just didn't change. It's still just a 1-1. It's not a pirate anymore, so if there was a South Sea captain, then okay, sure, the card got worse, but...
And the thing is, if Gilgamesh does decide to use this Blood Cell Corsair here, just to eliminate the Rusty Hook, then the Fiery War Axe is just an easy play anyway. And it means that's going to be 8 damage pushing to face.
Because of the taunt, the Dirty Rat's arguably worse than the Frothing Berserker for Malaysia. Now, Fiery War Axe almost definitely going to come down here. I don't think Diggin wants to spend 3 mana on patches. And I think he can just push face, too.
It depends how worried he is about Flame Tongue Totem.
Sure.
I suppose you could make some value trades here. It also might be worth just damaging this Hive Queen ever so slightly in case something else comes off, so you can then kill it next turn rather than it just being a nuisance on the board.
Okay. So, thinking about Flame Tongue Totem, I like trading Dirty Rat into the 1-2. I don't know if you need to trade the Hive Queen, though, if you're doing that.
I think I'd prefer just trading the Hive Queen into the Blood Cell Corsair and then using the Wisp to kill off patches and then just going face with the Rat and the Fiery War Axe.
You want to keep the Rat nice and healthy?
Yeah, keep the Rat healthy. He's your buddy at the moment.
He's
He's
your
going to keep
bro.
everything away. Alternatively, if you want to keep a little bit of power on the board, you could Fiery War Axe down patches, but at the same time, you know, Maelstrom Portal could exist, and that is wasting 2 damage. Depends how long you think the Wisp is going to survive, really.
I know that it's not playing around Maelstrom Portal, but I do prefer going face here.
Yeah, not killing off the patches is fine, because even if there is a Flame Tongue Totem, it's still not going to get through Dirty Rat. Just killing one of them is important.
As the Pirate Warrior, it's just important that you start going face sooner rather than later. The Evolved Shaman probably wins this the longer the game goes. Like, the more Thing from Below type cards they get out. Doppelgangster Evolve can be a big swing in their direction if they can get a taunt or 2. Sunwalkers, etc. do exist. So Diggin just needs to start winning this game as soon as possible. And, you know, from the opening hands with the patches there, I thought that Diggin was in a really rough spot. I thought that Norway's dreams of going 3-0 were about to end. However, with that devolve, Diggin definitely still has a good reason to hope.
And you were speaking about that Doppelgangster Evolve as well, of course, is now in the hand for Gilgamesh, but he may want to use this coin just to get a Thing from Below out here if he is that worried about the incoming damage. Alternatively, you're pretty bonkered, really. You've got Flame Tongue Totem, which can run into I think you have to maybe roll for spell power if you're going to go down that route.
Gonna just
Wow.
point out the doppelganger. Okay, so the reason for this is that it creates a wide board for Malaysia. It threatens Norway. Gilgamesh is saying, hey, are you gonna trade or are you gonna keep going face? Because if you don't trade, there's a chance that I'm just gonna evolve this board. And as we can see...
Yeah, they're essentially like
High
3 2/2 taunts, right? Because you don't want to leave them on the board.
So, for Diggin, trading in the Emerald Hive Queen is a pretty easy call, I think,
Yep.
here. Because he wants to be able to actually drop more cards in his hand, maybe drop Frothing Berserker and Patches. In fact, if he makes that trade, then drops Frothing Berserker, he can then drop the Patches, trade in Patches and the Wisp into one of the 2/2s, trade in the weapon into the other.
I like that.
That buffs up the Frothing Berserker a lot. Alternatively, he could just trade in the Dirty Rat and trade in the weapon and leave both of the 1-drops alive, but as we haven't seen a Maelstrom Portal yet, I like trading in the 1/1s.
I mean, there is some question to actually just going face here, but I don't like it.
Oh, look at that. Digger not even going to trade in the Emerald Hive Queen. In fact, going to just get that buff on the Frothing Berserker instead. I thought he'd prefer to develop as well. I was wrong. He's actually going to trade in everything here. Except the...
Well, he's seen one devolve, so he's saying, all right, well, how do you deal with this Froth and Berserker?
So it's just Jade Lightning, right? But I don't think there are any other cards that deal with it immediately. And as we can see, there is no Jade Lightning present.
Yeah, now the thing
Norway's
from
hand.
below is going to have to come down from Gilgamesh just to try and stim a little bit of this damage.
And then Corcoran plus Patches can come down and just deal with the thing from below while buffing the Frothing Berserker even more. I don't know how Norway are doing it, but this is one heck of a start.
Yeah, so they'll be able to push like, what, 14 damage to face if they do that. And then they have a Mortal Strike to follow up as well, so Norway in a pretty good spot here. For Malaysia, I think their only hope was really Norway going face there and then getting the Evolve off, getting some taunts, getting something significant. But now, there is no hope, really. Nothing that they can draw, even if they were to draw taunt into taunt. Because they can only play Thing from Below now. Even if they were to go Doppelgangster Evolve next turn, then they just lose because of Mortal Strike.
Oh boy. Alright, so how are we working out these trades? Patches and the Wisp definitely trade in because they actually deal more damage by
Just have
buffing
lethal.
the frothing. Is this just lethal now?
Yeah,
It
you
is
use
just
both
lethal, isn't
1/1s and then you get to 11 and then you use Corcoran Elite as well.
Yeah.
And that's 17. And Norway are going to be taking a nice, juicy 2-0 lead. They need a 3-0 if they want to be able to definitely qualify from this group. And they also need a result to go their way in the later game with China and Singapore. But judging off the fact that this is the Norwegian side that lost last week to Singapore, well, let's say an interesting string of events. A lot of strange decks from the Singapore side that would have been very frustrating to play against. It looks like they're back on their A game.
Can't argue with that, Dan. We're 2-0 so far for Norway. Your favourite team, your team to win the whole tournament, and it'd be quite an impressive comeback for them and for you if they do end up winning this 3-0 and get through to the next stage. Next up is going to be Revenge on the Paladin versus Zorgthar on the Shaman. Norway hoping that they can do a better job with the Evolved Shaman than Malaysia did.
Yeah, Zorgthar actually says that Shaman is his favourite class as well, so maybe we're going to be expecting some...
He's one of those, is he?
Yeah, he's one of those guys. But you get the Shaman players that are like, no, I was like Shaman before Shaman was cool. And then it was like, you know, when Shaman was amazing.
I did like Shaman before Shaman.
Yeah, right.
Zorg
Everyone says that.
Zorgthar. Do you know what? All of Team Norway, just the look of concentration they've had so far. Maybe not so much Hunter Ace. He's a little bit younger. He was a little bit more energetic. But Zorgthar and Diggen, just pure concentration there. Revenge CCS also looking ready to go.
It's fact time.
Oh, no.
Yes, Norway is known as the land of the midnight sun. Do you know why?
Why?
Because I think the sun just stays up pretty much the whole time in Norway throughout summer.
How many of these things have you...
Hey, leave my fact book
Oh my
alone.
goodness. There are a lot of facts here.
There are, like, I have to do something. I just like writing facts. Yeah, because it just never, the sun pretty much just never goes down in Norway. Scandinavia in general, I was in Sweden recently, and it's just so bright there at midnight. It's scary.
At midnight?
Yeah, like, genuinely, the sun just is always up.
That is scary. How do you?
Land of the Midnight Sun.
When do you sleep?
You don't actually.
Oh.
No, as you said, Dig doesn't sleep. He just plays Hearthstone.
That's true.
I've got another Malaysian fact if you want it.
Go.
Do you know they have elephant crossing signs in Malaysia?
Elephant crossings.
Yeah. Forget in England where we have tank crossing signs. Just elephant crossings.
So like instead of waiting for a train, you wait for an elephant.
That would be something bizarre, wouldn't it?
It's a different world out there, Dan.
And because I think trains are a little bit more predictable than elephants as well. If there is an elephant crossing, you don't know how long you're going to have to
Hey,
wait.
I don't know how predictable the elephants are. Maybe they got them really well trained over there.
Maybe we do have them well trained. So Paladin versus Shaman. Now, interestingly with Paladin, I was looking at the HCT deck lists, and it seems like people are starting to now put, well, I say people, there is Onyxia in Muzzy's list, which is something that you brought up a couple of weeks ago.
Zalay had it in, was it Star Ladder, I think? Yeah.
I think you said it. And
It tends to be Onyxia or Deathwing, generally, at the moment.
yeah, I mean, Deathwing was the kind of go-to because it still had that clearing ability, but now it seems like we're getting to quite meaty control games, and actually Onyxia just seems to have more value than Deathwing does because you don't want to be throwing away all the cards that are in your hand.
It sounds ridiculous to those of you that have been in Hearthstone for a long time because Onyxia has never been part of any meta, at least to my recollection. But when you think of the synergies you've got there, you've got synergy with the Curator, draw a dragon. You've got synergy with Sunkeeper Tareem. You buff up all of the 1/1s if they survive, turn them into 3/3s. And there's some pretty good reasons to run Onyxia, and there it is.
Bang.
Good call, Dan. It's like you knew.
Bang!
But hang on a sec, let's look at Zorkthar's hand for just a moment. Fire Elemental. Jade Spirit. With patches. What is this deck?
So this is like a Jade Elemental patches.
It's a Jade Elemental aggro evolve.
No, so there was one
not.
Jade Shaman that was actually brought to HCT, and net decking is a very popular thing that happens. You say, okay, they're bringing this deck, let's try it on ladder. Is it successful? If it is, then yeah, it happens. But it seems to be a token-based deck, but it also runs a little bit of the Jade package. And to be fair, the elemental battle cry of 3 damage can be really influential at times.
I mean, when you look at this hand, this is just an evolve shaman, right? This is just, you got Firefly, Bloodlust, these are all evolve or token shaman style cards. Is it possible that this deck's just not running Doppelgangster?
Very possible. We have seen it happen in prior tournaments where I've been waiting for the Doppelgangster to just arrive, but it doesn't.
And then you've drawn all your cards and it just hasn't arrived?
It's just not there. And then you're like, oh, okay, so it's not Evolve Shaman. It is just Token Shaman with a little bit of Jade in it as well. On the Paladin side, probably this is just mid-range Shaman. HCT, I think the majority of Paladin decks were kind of classed as mid-range. I think there was a couple of N'Zoths. There was one Control Paladin, one Murlocked in as well.
It's so funny how that's changed over time, how when the expansion first came out, there were no Paladins, and then lots of fast Paladins, and then lots of slow Paladins, and have we now settled in the middle? Maybe.
It seems to be going back and forth, doesn't it? Of people, I think it's down to preference.
Because like
what you
N'Zoth is the far end of the Control Paladin spectrum, but that mid-range seems to work absolutely fine. Again, the Curator, a card with a lot of synergies, grabbing Gentle Megasaurs, grabbing Murlocs, and grabbing Onyxias and Primordial Drakes, and Deathwings.
So it depends what kind of mid-range Paladin this is for Malaysia as well. We have seen, I mean, call me crazy, Dan, but we've actually
You're crazy,
seen...
Dan.
Okay, great, thanks. I'm glad you abided by my rules. We have seen some aggressive builds even run equalities in them as well.
Yeah.
Which is just weird, but it does happen.
Back in the old days, the aggressive Paladin decks, not pure aggro decks, but the mid-range Paladin decks, they did run equality.
You make us sound so old.
Back in my day,
My day.
before all these fangled expansions came out.
Back in beta.
Exactly. Right, Norway can coin out Mana Tide Totem if they want to start digging through their deck, though as we can see, everything's a bit risky because there's a Murloc War Leader there. The power of the hero power that you get from the Valfin Inquisitor really shines here. You play War Leader, all of your 1/1s become 3/2s. So Mana Tide Totem would just be destroyed, but what are Zorkthar's other options here? It doesn't want to evolve this board. Sorry, to evolve this board, it does nothing. It just turns the 1/3 into a Wisp. Otherwise, he's just toteming up. I don't see that he has much of a choice here but to play the Mana Tide.
I like Mana Tide, but it is scary going into turn 3 when Rallying Blade is a very large possibility.
Running Blade 2, yeah.
I mean, we haven't spoken about UK Paladin.
We haven't.
I mean, we can bring that up, right?
I don't think this is a UK Paladin.
Well, no, it's not. But
Maybe we should save it.
okay, we'll save it. All right.
Yeah.
Watch this space. UK Paladin coming at you, 2017.
And if you don't know what UK Paladin is, consider yourself teased.
You're in for a treat.
Well, speaking of treats, Revenge, I imagine not going to take too long to drop the Murloc War Leader. Just instantly being able to get rid of the Manatide Totem is such a boon for the Paladin. And going to put Zorgthar under a lot of pressure. He's going to need to... Well, he can't coin anything else, so he may even need to devolve that board.
Devolve isn't too bad onto a War Leader. You kind of want to save your Devolve for when a Megasaur comes down and buffs up a load of Murlocs. That could be a great way to deal with it. I think the bad thing at the moment for Zorgthar is having both Bloodlust in hand.
Yeah, it's not what you want. I mean, it is what you want later on when you've got a full board of stuff, thanks to cards like Primal Fin Totem, etc. But when you've got no board control whatsoever, double Bloodlust is not what you want. Revenge actually really taking his time here with every play, talking everything through with his teammates, considering every possibility. Did you see how Zorgthar shot forwards when that Murloc War Leader came down? Like, oh dear, this is like the worst thing that could have happened.
I think you have to just devolve Flame Elemental here.
I think you're right. I don't like it, but I think you're right.
This board is too scary. You need to just be fighting constantly. If you let the Murloc Paladin get away from you at any point, it's so hard to regain pressure.
And it only gets worse from here too, right? Like Gentle Megasaur comes down next turn, gives these Murlocs with 3 attack, what, Wind Fury, extra health? Doesn't matter. Either of them are just game-breakingly good here.
In worst case scenario, you devolve and they get
A dirty
what?
rat.
A dirty rat or something, yeah. It's just anything that's going to be tough to deal with. You're looking for something like a 2-3 of stats, and of course, a little juicy Wisp as well. You know you can trade into that Wisp.
Well, do you know what? I think statistically, a lot of the time when you devolve a 3-drop and you get a 2-drop, a lot of the time, that 2-drop will only have 1 health. So it's likely that the Firefly will be able to trade into it, and there we go. Volatile, Elemental.
Yeah, of course, does no damage to anything because there's nothing on the board to deal damage to as well.
So it just became a 1-1 that does nothing.
Yeah. So actually, there's a really good devolve for Norway, exactly what they needed to be able to swing this back into the game. And now they can start to Jade up. Jade Spirit next turn,
Yeah.
or Jade Lightning, but you probably prefer Jade Spirit.
Well, you
then
play
that Jade
one-
Lightning can
yeah,
be
one
used
into
as
the other and then
removal.
Aya, yeah.
And then you've got Aya as well, so you're in a decent spot now.
Revenge not complaining too much though, as his hand is filled out nicely. He's got some pretty good ways of using his whole curve here. Grabs go Chum into Hydrologist and then drop a secret. Seems pretty perfect. You get a 2-1, you get a 3-3 thanks to that little buff. Let's see. No Noble Sacrifice, but Getaway Kodo is the value pick. That's usually the one you go for. However, I doubt Malaysia will want to drop the Getaway Kodo and add a Wisp to their hand.
Yeah, because the Wisp will be the natural target with the secret on board.
So, is there an alternative secret to pick up that you'd want to play immediately this turn? I don't think there is. Both Eye for 9 Repentance seem pretty bad going into turn 4 against the Shaman.
I mean, you could play Repentance, because if he was to drop, I don't know, like a Primal Fin Totem or something like that, or
Okay.
anything that you could deal with a little bit easier, I'm not adverse to.
Gonna go with the Getaway Kodo. I guess he could trade the Wisp in then. No? So he's pretending it's something else.
Yeah, you always send it to the Wisp every day.
Yeah, there's nothing stopping Norway from doing that.
No thought process behind that, not even asking his teammates.
There you go, it is going to be the Jade Lightning. He's still got a decent board that trades well with the Grimescale Chum. Jade Spirit can come on next turn into Aya, into Fire Elemental, or some combination of cards like that.
Spike Witch Steed, that does mean on turn 6
Oh,
you've
with
got
the
Wisp
Wisp.
into Spike Witch Steed, which is pretty nice.
That was the plan. That was the plan from the start.
plan all
We'll
along.
play the Getaway Kodo now. We'll get the Wisp returned to our hand, and then when we draw Spike Witch Steed, we get a 6 mana 3/7 that summons a 2/6.
And Malaysia will feel they're in a good spot as well when they're able to get Spike Witch Steed down. But this isn't your typical Evolve Shaman. There is that Jade package that you've got to worry about. There is that Fire Elemental there that is going to be able to make a difference as well. There is more value to be had from this Shaman with Norway.
And the Jades are just ramping up so fast here too. Tyrion Fordering, usually the snap pick. There is already a creator in hand. so I don't think that gets enough value. Grimescale Protector worth considering because you don't have anything to play on 7, but no, ultimately does go with the Tyrion. Wisp going to come down too, that's interesting. Playing right into the potential of a Maelstrom portal, which is surprising to me. Another Jade Generation card. So we can go Jade Spirit into Aya, into Jade Claws. The last Jades that this hand can give you is a 5/5. So we are getting there. We're getting into heavy threat levels here.
Consecration is quite nice here, actually. You may still be tempted for that Spike Ridge Steed.
So we've seen a devolve already from Norway.
Yeah.
So Steed is so tempting. You just buff up the 1/1 Murloc. Gonna go with the Wisp. Okay.
Well, I mean, I suppose Hungry Crab is a thing.
Oh, that's true.
So you try and avoid that.
I was thinking you buffed the Murloc for the Gentle Megastore, but you're right. Playing around Hungry Crab does seem more important.
Hungry Crab is something we've seen in the HET deck lists as well. I think we've seen it turn up 11 times in the 64 decks submitted.
Wow.
So it is just about there.
It was, especially in the European playoffs. There were a lot of Hungry Crabs. I remember Tyler's lineup, for example,
Yeah.
all of his decks having them.
And there's only five token druids as well, so there's still Hungry Crabs elsewhere rather than just that token druid.
Sure. And there you go. This board is looking a little bit nasty. Not quite completely out of control yet. When Aya dies, it's going to give a 4/4. There's that Onyxia. I wonder if it's the only dragon in the deck. It's possible.
Quite possibly, yeah. We have seen the mid-range paladin remove Primordial Drake in a lot of instances.
Problem is the damage it does to your own board. Bloodsail Corsair now picked up from Norway. No patches present yet. So that is more potential damage later. In fact,
Does mean you could Jade Claws down this Wisp, and then you could use Aya plus Bloodsail Corsair and the patches to be able to kill off.
I was going to say there might be some combination with the Fire Elemental too. Fire Elemental plus Bloodsail Corsair, bring out patches.
I guess Fire Elemental gets you a bigger minion to put on the board than Jade Claws.
Yeah, only slightly though. Oh.
I think it's alright.
Oh, we're back on the volcano again.
I mean, that's 2 volcanoes in one series. Come on, let's think about this now.
It's a long day production. Come on, guys.
Like,
you can only erupt the volcano so many times in a day with 6 series.
we're going to have words. Right, we're starting to see a board build up now for Norway. Unfortunately, there is still a lot of board to be built up from Malaysia as well. Tyrion, Onyxia there. And there's that Crazed Alchemist. I mean, that's something that we've seen in the HET deck submissions in a couple of decks. Mainly just to contest early Doomsayers, to be honest.
Crazed Alchemist can do all sorts. There was a Cholden clip last week where Firebat used Crazed Alchemist on Ysera just to deal 12 damage immediately, punch his opponent in the face, and then use the second Crazed Alchemist to switch it back.
I think this is exactly Muzzy's list.
Yeah.
Because Muzzy does run 1 Crazed Alchemist and 1 Onyxia.
Okay.
And I saw that a lot of people were actually taking his lineup through open cups through this week. I mean, why not back Muzzy? I mean, the guy's on form at the moment.
Yeah, I'll take your word for it. I'll take Muzzy's word for it. But I say this every week, but the thing that the Paladin is able to do so well, even against these slightly more controlly decks, it just keep coming out with more and more stuff. Keep drawing more that they can smack the face with, more big guys that really put the onus on your opponent to deal with.
Wrath of Air would be nice.
That's still pretty good though. Fire
The Maelstrom Portal was a big pickup anyway, just being able to deal with the Divine Shield of Tyrion.
Fire Elemental will go straight into Tyrion. The 4/4 will go into the Staggadon. I imagine Jade Claws will come down, and possibly the Firefly too, if Norway want to try and set up this Bloodlust for next turn. Or the first Bloodlust for next turn. Okay, sure. Trade that way.
Yeah, this plays better into Consecration, of course.
Yeah.
And they may keep the Fireflies for that exact reason.
The 2/1 is very helpful if there's a Consecration, though, because it's actually going to give a Divine Shield to the Fire Elemental or the Jade Golem. In fact, Sorkthar looks like he's going to go all in, and I don't blame him with the Bloodlust in hand. I don't know that you can afford not to. Okay, almost all in. Mostly in. So Consecration's a given this turn, I think.
You would have thought so.
And then the Ashbringer gets rid of whichever minion does not get the Divine Shield. And then we've got Stonehill Defender and Hydrologist. Like, there's so much Revenge can do.
Yeah, unfortunately, running out of resources now for Sorkthar, and yes, okay, his Jades are getting to a decent spot, but also Revenge CCS is going to be able to generate so much board pressure now.
Is there any weird play? Yeah, I was going to say, starting with the Crazed Alchemist here. Not actually going to use up the Consecration. That's really interesting. But may as well make use of Crazed Alchemist while you've got the chance to get rid of a taunt. Redemption would be great if there was still a Tyrion on the board.
They might go for a Noble Sacrifice just to try and absorb a little bit of damage.
I
If
think
they are going down the route of not consecrating, which they still might,
Oh,
then they are potentially going to be taking quite a bit of damage here if there is a Bloodlust in hand.
it's definitely... Alright, Death Rattle.
So there's
Ooh.
20 damage with a Bloodlust, but of course a Noble Sacrifice will take a little bit of that off. Probably just 2.
Just
so that means there's 18
damage, and then you got Jade Lightning
and another Bloodlust.
and another blood. Well, so you could, so Norway could Bloodlust this turn, hit face with everything, pop the Flame Elemental down, Hero Power, and then just try and set up the second Bloodlust and a Jade Lightning next turn.
The only worry for that is, look at how much damage is in the hand for Malaysia as well.
Of course, it's Redemption, not Noble Sacrifice.
Did they pick? Oh, okay, I
Yeah,
didn't
they
actually see in the end. But if they do just go face here, Revenge CCS just has lethal, right?
It's now just another 18 damage.
You use Blessing of Kings plus Consecration to win the game now.
Yep, that's exactly lethal, right?
There we go, nice and juicy, and Malaysia going to be coming back into this series. Norway not going to be able to win 3-0.
Malaysia putting their foot down. Norway, you're not getting the sweep, and you're not going to be progressing through to stage 2 of the Hearthstone Global.
This is
Stage 3,
providing
sorry.
that Malaysia actually see lethal.
Should I?
I mean, you
14.
should. You probably should, yeah.
Let's just double check. 10, 14, 18, 20. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
it's-
is lethal.
Yeah.
That is definitely 100%. No
But
questions.
sometimes when your tournament life is on the line, you do have to count these things over and over. I mean, we can speak about Norway, but also Malaysia do have a chance to qualify as well. If they win this game and Singapore were to lose, then they are definitely through. And with Singapore going up against China, I certainly think Malaysia will feel they are in good nick to potentially do so.
Yeah, Malaysia, look at the celebrations going on there. Very different attitudes, I imagine, from both teams right now. Excitement from Malaysia and a little bit disheartened, I think, Team Norway.
Norway seem to pretty much have their heart set on, if we don't win 3-0, we can't get through. I've been trying to go through the third place playoffs and matchups. It's very difficult with the amount of groups that could
Yeah, it
finish
really is.
at 2-0s or 2-1s. There may still be a chance for them.
Yeah.
But really, all they're going to want to do is go out with a bang. They want to make sure they win this series.
Yeah, the more into today we get, especially before tomorrow, we'll have a much better idea of what the groups are looking like and who can and who definitely cannot qualify. But at the moment, it's a little bit of a mystery, though things look very, very bad for Norway. As we head in to game number 4, it's going to be Chonga on the Mage versus Xerez on the Priest. So, what can you tell me about Priest in HCT, Dan?
Only one priest was actually brought in HDT.
One.
It was X-Hopes, and it's a Lyra combo priest.
Ah,
So it has the one light
oh,
ward.
Light Warden, okay.
Yeah, just the one. Priest hasn't got much love. Hunter and Warlock. No Hunter and Warlocks, unsurprisingly, as well.
Yeah, that's not too surprising either. I've got some stats somewhere about Hunter in stage 2 of the Hearthstone Global Games, and it's quite surprising that we've only seen Hunter 10 times in the last 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen Hunter 10 times, whereas Hunter has been the deck not chosen 28 times.
Okay.
So what I mean by that is that when a player has had to choose between Hunter and another class, 28 times that they've chosen the other class, 10 times they've chosen Hunter. So not very popular at all.
Poor Hunter.
Actually, the class that's been passed up on the most. The reason for that is that Warlock is just the class that doesn't appear in the lineup the most. So
Warlock.
that's just pushed down to the ace match. We don't get into the position where people even have to decide between Warlock and another class as often. So according to my stats, Warlock's been passed up on 24 times and picked 3 times.
But Mage then is going to be opposing the Priest, and Mage is in a really weird spot right now, where everyone's just trying to jumble everything together to try and find the optimal Mage, which just doesn't exist. We're seeing in the HGT deck lists that now we're seeing a hybrid of Secret and Burn, where we're seeing the Crystal Runners just being added to Discover Mage, and it's like...
The players are just trying to find the perfect mix of these cards, right? So Mage is the most versatile class.
Hey yo, let's get some Exodia Mage.
Rewind a little bit. Okay, open the Waygate. The Mage quest gives you an extra turn. With the deck that Chonga's going to be using here has the combination with Antonidas, where you can manipulate the extra turn and a bunch of Sorcerer's Apprentices with Molten Reflections to get infinite fireballs from the Archmage Antonidas.
I mean, you're going to laugh. I played a lot of Quest Mage over the past week. I don't know why. I just saw a list and was like, I really want to try this.
So you play loads of Quest Mage randomly and you get rewarded. I play loads of Dragon Priest because I feel like I've got a good reason to, and don't cast a game of that for 3 weeks. Good. That's great, Dad.
So the struggle that you seem to have with Quest Mage is against any sort of aggressive lineup. Any aggressive decks just seem to burst through you before you can even get the combo off. Yes, okay, you have the tools to freeze, you've got your ice blocks, you've got your ice barriers as well, but if one of your Molten Reflections is stuck at the bottom of your deck, if one of your Sorcerer's Apprentices is your last card, you can really struggle. And at some point you either have to decide, am I just going to start pushing whatever damage I can to face, or do I have to hold this game out? I have won games where I have held out until the exact last card, and it can work against control matchups like this.
Yeah, it's funny because with this deck, I think one of the main reasons that you lose is against a Dirty Rat in a control matchup, and most priests are not running Dirty Rat at the moment. So Chonga is probably just going to be able to bide his time. He just needs to make sure he doesn't lose to some crazy tempo play.
So of course, Babbling Book will naturally be your turn 1 play. You're not going to be playing the quest on turn 1 here because you don't need to, but of course you don't want to be playing into the Northshire Cleric, so it makes it a little bit more awkward. So maybe actually in this instance you would go for the quest just because you don't want to get any value, you don't want to give away any value from Norway's Cleric.
Yeah, I think it's probably a situation where you do just drop open the Waygate here. You can play Doomsayer on turn 2, and then if there's no Shadowwood Pain, then okay, sure, the Cleric trades in, heals up your Doomsayer, draws a card, but then that's it, Cleric's dealt with, and you've bought yourself an extra turn. And ultimately, all this deck needs to do is buy turns. I think Chonga's picked up a very nice matchup here.
So the combo you're looking for, if you haven't seen this deck before, I mean, you may have seen it, it's a very popular deck nowadays, is double Sorcerer's Apprentice into double Molten Reflection, and have Antonidas in hand as well. So you play the Sorcerer's Apprentice, you play Molten Reflections, then you play the quest, you end the turn, and then you play Antonidas plus a spell, and just get unlimited fireballs to win the game.
I think it's fair to say this is one of the hardest decks to play as well. There are a lot of intricacies to it. There are a lot of things that can go wrong as well. It's quite easy to accidentally mill the quest rewards, because the way you complete the quest a lot of the time is through cards like Kabbalist Tome, etc. And if you end up drawing 3 cards from that, and then that happens to be the card that completes the quest, oops, you milled it. You also need to work out exactly how you're going to sequence your card draws. When you get near to the end of the game, and you don't have many cards left, at some point, often you have to just say, okay, if my next draw is not Antonidas, I lose. And you just have to go for it. You complete the quest, because you then get an extra draw anyway, and then it's like, right, do or die.
Yeah, a lot of risks that have to be taken. There was, and I apologize because I have forgotten the name of the player who did manage to get this deck to Legend. I saw someone who got it quite high up in Legend, top 10 Legend, I believe, and was running double Kabbalist Tome.
Wow.
And the only issue I found when trying it out with Kabbalist Tome is sometimes my hand was just too full, because I had so much removal, so much stall, that I wasn't able to play Kabbalist Tome in some instances, because then I would just be milling cards.
It's a very difficult balance though, isn't it? Because you have to make sure you've got enough spells, or enough cards that generate spells, so that you consistently draw 6 of them by around the mid-game, I guess.
And of course it always helps having the coin in hand as well, something really important that can trigger one of the spells for the quest.
Malaysia, pretty instant pick there, getting the Arcane Intellect from the Glyph. The dream is that you get Primordial Glyph from Primordial Glyph and just keep going. But Arcane Intellect allows them to dig through that, dig deeper into the deck, get to their win condition faster.
Open the way gates. That would have been interesting.
It's interesting to me that Chonga is not running Flame Strike.
Yeah, I mean, the deck list that I've seen don't.
Okay.
It's just the stall and the blizzards rather than the flame strikes.
It's definitely a big thing to tell Xerez here, though. That's one of the advantages of playing Curious Glimmerroot. Presuming that you get it right, you also get told what cards aren't in the deck, and that can be valuable information.
So Doomsday here just to try and stop this little bit of tempo that Norway have actually gained.
Question I'm asking is, does Xerez have to actually try and get rid of the Doomsday and keep the tempo going? I think the answer is yes.
But in that case, you could just Shadow Visions and look for
And that's
Shadow
the
of
way
Pain,
you do
right?
it. Yeah, exactly.
To do.
He's already hovering over it as well.
Come on, end your turn. End your turn, Chonga. Let me do this.
So a couple of cards already in Malaysia's hand that can provide those extra spells that aren't going to start in your deck. And judging by the 2-drop as well, I don't think there is going to be a Kabbalist Tome, or if there is, it's probably only going to be one.
Yeah, you're right. The 2-drop, the Shimmering... Is it Shimmering Elemental? I think.
Yeah.
The Shimmering Elemental is not a card that's included in all of these lists, but it does, as you say, it does indicate there's no Kabbalist Tome. They're going the minion-heavy routes.
The somewhat more consistent route, what some people would argue.
Yeah. And now, Chonga, I don't think he's going to have much of a choice but to drop this Babbling Book. He needs to use it at some point. Frost Nova feels wasteful. I guess he could just Ice Barrier and just bide his time. You could argue there's no reason to need to generate an extra spell here. He's got Ice Barrier he can play. He's got Ice Block he can play next turn.
The only awkward thing is he does have both of those ice blocks in hand already, and they're going to sit in his hand, and they're going to be a little bit clunky. Especially if you do have a Kabbalist Tome.
Right.
That's what happens. You get all these secrets that just sit in your hand, and you get this removal that you can't use.
Yeah. Barrier going to go down first.
And that's unsurprising.
Yep, Barrier tends to be much better in the early game than it is in the late game, as it's more likely to buy you an extra turn. If you play it when your opponent's got more than 8 damage on the board already, then it doesn't do anything, unlike Ice Block, which guarantees you an extra turn.
Now, there is no quest major that has been brought to the HTT, to the Spring Championships.
That's not too surprising.
Yeah, I mean, it's because it doesn't seem to be a refined deck yet.
No.
People are trying, and people can take it to Legend, they've got it to Legend, but there's nothing that feels consistent enough
Ooh.
to be able to comfortably bring it to a tournament.
If you want consistency, though, let's have a look at Xerez's Babbling Book, grabbing Frostbolt, arguably the best mage spell there is, just across the board. And the thing about Quest Mage is that a lot of people, when they first saw Open the Waygate, they thought the card was just insane. They thought it was going to be so strong that it broke the game. And okay, so as you say, the deck isn't quite as consistent yet. A lot of people loved trying the deck when the expansion first came out, me included. Crafted the deck fully in gold, like, yeah, this is going to be top tier meta deck. Kind of got punished there a little bit. But it's definitely going to have potential as time goes on. Don't forget, these cards are going to be around for 2 years.
Yeah, that's the thing. If there's any sort of more card draw or more random spell generation available for the mage, then this deck could get a little bit more scary. Cold Light Oracle is an interesting inclusion that, of course, is going to help you with card draw, but inevitably does draw your opponent cards as well.
It can actually punish your opponent if they're also playing a control game, though, because you can force them to mill some cards.
Yep.
So while the card isn't as strong in the aggro matchups, it can do some work, though against Priest. Priest, a class that is typically quite good at maintaining a hand size of 5 or 6. Cold Light Oracle not going to be too strong.
Time runs out on me.
And there isn't much in Priest that you are scared about being milled away. Maybe Lyra could be pretty detrimental if you're running Silence Priest and Inner Fire maybe, but because of Shadow Visions, you can pick up some of these spells anyway before they're even milled. Circle of Healing there. So maybe there is a Light Warden in this deck.
It wouldn't surprise me too much. This deck has become pretty popular recently. As you mentioned, there's one in HCT. The other thing is that Pyromancer with Circle of Healing and Northshire Cleric is a lot of card draw potential. Is it possible that the Zeres is just going to go for it here?
I think so.
I'm worried that he's going to mill. Okay, wait. Yeah, Babbling Brook's already attacked. Okay, cool.
You don't need to Power Word Shield first, though, surely.
Well, it depends how much card draw you want, right?
Yeah.
So if you Power Word Shield, then you get to draw 5 cards off the circle. If you don't, you're drawing 1. Well, if there's a way Zeres is going to win against this deck, he needs to do it quickly. I think this is what he's acknowledging here by drawing 4 cards right now. Draw some answers. Or not answers, but draw some tempo, draw some threats. Draconid Operative is a good way to go here. Our first real indicator that this is a Dragon Priest, right?
I mean, I think this is just somewhat of a hybrid of everything at this point. Priests are in that kind of similar spot as well as Mage, in that people are trying to piece together what's the optimal way to go about the class.
And that really does speak to the strength of Primordial Drake and Draconid Operative, actually. Double Cold Light Oracle. Are we going to punish Zeres for all this card draw?
Yeah, you could mill a lot of cards here, and it looks like that is going to be the line of play for him. Once Soul Priest goes.
Going to mill 2 more cards if Chonga decides to play the second Cold Light Oracle, and then mill another card when Zeres goes for his regular draw. Doesn't look like we're going to go for it that far, though.
Shadow of Death doesn't really matter.
Nah, it's
That's a decent loss for Norway. And now Norway are just, all they do is they build up a board and they hope they can push a lot of damage to face. Alex Straza.
Mukla, Tyrant of the Veil, is the card that's drawn to my eye. So Chonga is running one of these lists. He's going to use the bananas to make sure he gets through that quest nice and quickly. Now, Chonga going to have another chance to get Zeres milled.
Alex Straza in the deck as well for this quest mage. Okay.
It's just
So
an
it's-
alternate win condition,
It's
right?
Yeah, it's giving it that other option.
Against this control priest deck, having more win conditions is only a good thing.
Yeah, and it's actually really good against aggro as well. As I said,
Defensively.
the deck list that I've been playing doesn't run the likes of Alex Straza, and you can really struggle against aggro if you just run out of stall and haven't drawn your combo yet. So Alex Straza is another way of either A, having another win condition, or just defensively being able to heal yourself back up. But now for Chonga, he can, if he wants, to start milling a couple more cards. Does need to play something himself first, though.
Yeah, the question is it worth it? It doesn't look like that we're going to be fatiguing this priest anytime soon.
No, so probably Blizzard seems like the... no, okay.
And we are going to mill. Okay, sure. As long as he's not milling himself, that's something that Chonga needs to make sure of. Getting rid of the Priest of the Feast doesn't matter too much while there's one on the board, although it does mean there's no way of healing for Norway later on. Well, there is, but he loses his main way of healing later on.
Circle of Healing is fine to go as well.
That's the thing, is like you said though, most of the Priest cards, it just doesn't matter if he mills them. He got both of his Draconid Operatives, he's got another Spy Historian, that's going to be great. If he mills Lyra, yeah, that would be a shame, but he's got so much value in his hand, it just doesn't matter too much.
I think you use your operatives here to look for potentially some fireballs or just some damage, really.
So one of the best cards you can pick up from an Operative against Mage is the Ice Block.
Of course.
Because you can then... The infinite damage combo wasn't necessarily going to kill you. However, both Ice Blocks started in Malaysia's hand, or have been for quite some time.
Yep.
So Draconid Operative is not going to be able to pick up Ice Block. The only card that Norway could use to pick up that is Curious Glimmerroot. One of those was already used to grab Babbling Book. Now Frostbolt is still there in Zeres' hand. When you're in this funny position as the Priest, where you've got a handful of cards, you can forget about the card that you got from Babbling Book, like that Frostbolt, because you just don't expect it to be in your hand as the Priest. It's possible to just forget it's there. However, Zeres did just hover over it. I think he considered using it to get rid of the Cold Light Oracle.
And Zeros can just set up to try and pop this block next turn as well.
Yeah, time's running out for Malaysia. Malaysia unable to play the Sorcerer's Apprentice because he doesn't want to waste any pieces of the combo. Mukla unplayable this turn too. I think he just has to Blizzard.
You could Blizzard and Primordial Glyph. So he's got one Apprentice, he's got both Molten Cores, still needs one more Apprentice and one Antonidas as well. 12 cards left. He's just going to be searching for more. There's the second Sorcerer's Apprentice, so now you just stall until you get Antonidas.
Chunga's done a pretty good job with his card draw here. He got one card draw from Primordial Glyph, he got one card draw from the Shimmering Tempest, sorry. Not Shimmering Elemental, it's my bad.
It is an elemental though, isn't it? I understand where you came
It is an elemental. Yeah. I'll call it Tempest Elemental next.
I mean, there was a reason why I called it a 2-drop.
Yeah, very clever.
There he is.
Casting tips and tricks from Dan Gaskin. More card draw, but Shimmering Tempest, the 2-drop going to be picked up. So, Xerath is, because of the huge card draw turn earlier, he's really been struggling now to manage his resources. He could play the Glimmer Root here, but he'll probably mill a card. Unless he played the Glimmer Root and purposely picks the card that he knows is not in the deck. That may actually be the play here.
I don't think he's too worried about milling. He's got the tools to win this game. He's got the damage. It's just a matter of hoping there's no more stall for Malaysia.
If he took that route, he could decide once he sees the card, right? He could see what the card is. Do I want that, or do I rather have the next card on the top of my deck? Gonna play it safe and not do any milling anyway.
Still no Antonidas. 9 cards left. There is the Alex Straza there. You may need to Arcane Intellect. You need stall, really. You do have one more block, so you're at least going to get 2 more draws in theory if you go down that route of what you said earlier, where you complete the quest.
See,
you hope.
It's also time, yeah, that Chonga needs to start considering if he could win the game soon, because he's got both Sorcerer's Apprentice in hand. He could play double Sorcerer's Apprentice, Molten Reflection, Arcane Intellect for free, and then just see where he ends up.
Yep.
If he gets this Arcane Intellect too, I think next turn that's going to be worth considering. Next turn, you just decide I'm going to win the game this turn. Goes for Frost Nova instead. Oh, he could play Mukla and Frost Nova here, I guess.
I mean, he does need to actually complete his quest, though, as well. That's the important factor, and I think that's why Mukla, to grab a banana here.
Nice ordering there, too.
Yep.
Means that he's not going to be milling Antonidas or something important. Next turn, he may go for the win. Double Sorcerer's Apprentice, Molten Reflection, Arcane Intellect for free.
I don't think you need to, not yet.
Maybe
I think you only do it when
you run out of stall.
When you are going to die next turn.
Yeah.
You only win it when your back's against the wall.
Oh, Antonidas for Norway. I wonder if Babbling Brook is just better, though. Antonidas works well with the Shadow Visions, but Norway's hand is just so full. He doesn't want more card generation.
Already one Shadow of Death has been destroyed, but there's the second that he can use just to try and get rid of some of this damage. So that's not really going to be his concern at the moment.
Again, just to point out, it doesn't matter how much health the Xerath has. It doesn't matter.
There's Antonidas.
Okay,
now you pull the trigger.
Yeah, he's going
complete
for
the quest.
It's possible that he... Oh, no, he's got both Molten Reflections. He's got it. He's just won.
He's already won. So you complete the quest.
Amazing.
Now, using the Arcane Intellect, or the bananas, whatever you've drawn, you can play the quest. The next turn, you've got Archmage into countless fireballs, and how much fun will Malaysia have with this? I've seen a lot of people with their BM just sending fireballs here, there, and everywhere. And if Norway's hopes of a 3-0 victory had already been thwarted, a 3-1, they may still have felt like they had a chance, but certainly a 2-2 and a potential 3-2 is not going to put them in a great position for a third-place qualifier. I don't even know if they can finish third.
There's the concede again. Infinite fireballs are about to come out. When fireball costs 0 mana and that also generates another fireball, you probably... Well, yeah, you just win the game, which is why we saw the concede straight away there. Beautiful combo. I love seeing it happen every time. This may be one of the first times it's happened in the Hearthstone Global Games, if not the first time. So, just want to remember.
So I don't think now, I'm going to put it out there, I don't think there's a way Norway can even finish third.
But Dan,
that's my worry.
Norway, your team.
Because they are, even if they win this next game, they're going to find themselves at 1-2 with a 5-8 score difference. Singapore are currently on 5-4, so even if they lost 3-0, they're 5-7 at 1-2, and they've already lost to Malaysia. So that does pretty much mean this is going to be all she wrote for Norway. However, Dan, we do still have that potential for them to go out with a bang. Hunter Ace is going to be picking the mage, and it's going to be Revenge CCS with the warrior. Now, I'm disappointed because when I was speaking to Zorkthar, he was saying, look, we need to win 3-0. If we're not going to win 3-0, we're probably going to bring Warlock, because I allowed Hunter Ace to build the Warlock of his dreams.
So you got lied to.
I feel like it was just misinformation.
Misinformation.
Yeah, he said that he allowed it, and it was a deck that Hunter Ace has been wanting to build for a while, but we're not going to see it played.
The deck of his dreams.
Deck of his dreams. Anyway, I can go for my last facts from Norway and Malaysia. Now we've got to a game 5. Norway has the longest road tunnel in the world.
Okay.
You're going to ask me how long it is, aren't you?
How long is it, Dan?
Well, it is 15.3 miles. And itself, it's just become a tourist attraction in Norway. People just go to see how long the tunnel is.
So it's all like inside, all underground? Or what?
Well, it's a tunnel.
Yeah.
That's how tunnels work.
I'd feel really claustrophobic. I wouldn't like it in there.
So Malaysia, as you can see, just keep themselves hydrated. Very important as a Hearthstone player. Make sure you drink lots of water.
And Hunter is looking much less enthusiastic now. Did you notice earlier on he was, ready to go. He was laughing. Now he's just looks solid.
Yeah, well, like I said,
Revenge, though, probably fist pumping
I think
and laughing.
that's it, them out. Last Malaysian fact then. On average, Malaysians have the most Facebook friends in the world. An average of 223 per person.
It's not as many as I was expecting.
Well, on average, that's pretty good. That's a survey from 2010, so it may have changed since then, but I think that's pretty good.
7 years ago?
Yeah.
I didn't even know Facebook existed 7
2010 was 7 years ago. Wow. When did that happen?
That seems very out of date to me.
Yeah, I know.
Well, it's going to be a fast last game. We got the Pirate Warrior versus the Freeze Mage, it looks like.
Yeah, Freeze Mage or a type of Freeze Mage. Certainly we saw George C. recently, the UK player hit Legend yesterday with a Freezy Mage. And I say Freezy because it did still have Medivh in it.
Oh.
It was a little bit of a hybrid between Burn and Freeze. As we've touched on a few times already, like, it just is in a weird spot.
What is with the celebrations from Malaysia then? Did you see the... They're out of control right now. They look very, very, very happy about something. Now, you said that Hunter Ace is going to want to go down with a bang. I think there's more than that. I think, essentially, Malaysia have just knocked Norway out of this tournament. Hunter Ace is going to want to take Malaysia down with him.
Yeah, I mean, if they're able to beat Malaysia, then Malaysia would fall to 1 and 2, and their only hope would be that Singapore would lose to China quite significantly. And then they'd be hoping for a third-place playoff if Singapore were able to win. However, if Malaysia do win this game, they're in a really good spot. Because, yes, they're at 2-1, and yes, there is a chance that Singapore could actually pip them on tiebreaker, but they'd be at 2-1 as a third place. And are we going to see that many 2-1s in third places? That remains to be seen, but you're certainly in a good spot.
It's possible. Looking at how the rest of the groups line up, there are a lot of situations where it's still possible that happens. So we'll have to wait and see there. The Doomsayer coming down here from Hunter Ace. It's going to clear the board. This is exactly what a Freeze Mage needs to do to get started. He's got Ice Barrier to fall back onto. That's 8 extra health when played this early. Tempo Eater of Secrets on turn 4 doesn't look too horrible. Wow, it is pretty horrible. But in this matchup, I think he just goes for it. If Hunter Ace can pick up Alexstrasza, then he has a very solid chance at winning this.
Captain Greenskin in the hand there. Last week, when I saw Pirate Warrior and I saw Captain Greenskin and Spellbreaker in a deck, I was thinking, hey, this is a little bit different, but it has just become the norm. That is the go-to deck now. This is Pirate Warrior. It seems to have found its optimal place in the meta.
Well, you know, people realized that Noga Corsair was good. Let's take that card and increase his mana cost by 1, but also give a weapon extra durability. Sure, seems good to me. Problem is for Malaysia, they don't have a Fiery War Axe or Arcanite Reaper present in hand. If they had a War Axe, this would be a really strong start, but with neither of those weapons present, it's not looking quite as strong.
So Norway have all the tools to deal with this game. The Ice Barrier, the Frost Nova, they've got the Glyph to look for more. Eater of Secrets can somewhat contest the board as well. It's just how long can they stall until they're able to find a win condition?
Yeah, Revenge has some great plays available to him right now. Gonna go with the Frothing Berserker. I was looking at South Sea Captain, Coin, South Sea Deckhand, but next turn, Revenge could play South Sea Captain, Coin, and play both South Sea Deckhands. 6 charging damage going face. Revenge is going to be able to sink in a lot of damage very, very soon. Will he be able to sink in enough? That is the question. Norway are going to do whatever they can to make sure that they cannot.
You just fireball this?
I think he has to. I guess he could play Primordial Glyph and see what he gets. While it's only dealing 2 damage, it's not the biggest threat, but no. Going to play the Fireball, and now, as I said a moment ago, I think this play is somewhat obvious. Captain, both deckhands. 6 damage goes face, weapon that's 7. Pretty much deals with the Ice Barrier. And creates a board that's hard to deal with.
I think another thing we take into account as well is, I mean, if I've calculated right, Norway are just out at this point. They can't get through. And yes, Hunter Race could have brought something that was a little bit, let's say, memey. They could have brought a Warlock. However, this is a chance to be playing on the big stage, to show what you've got. Show the sponsors what you've got. I know he already is on a team already. But the fact that you can show the world what you're capable of.
Yeah.
You can play a decent game and gain respect. I like that. I've got a lot of respect for that man.
Here we go. Whether or not, yeah, he is going to use the coin as well. He's making the play that I described there. Oh, or is he? Testing for the secret first. Yep, all right, let's go, let's do it. Sinking in all of the damage. Hunter Ace just looks confused now, look at that. He's actually going to have to work really hard to deal with this threat. He needs to pick up a Frostbolt or some way of getting rid of that 3/3 Ice Block is going to help him out later on. But I like,
first, you look for an answer, and then you've got the Frost Nova as a backup if needs be.
Cone
Cone Cold isn't. Wait, what do you prefer? Do you prefer more stall in freezing, or do you prefer an Ice Barrier, which is guaranteed 8 health?
Well, Cone of Cold is strictly better here, right? Because you play it and you prevent 9 damage.
I think Cone of Cold is better because you could potentially use it in conjunction with the Doomsayer, either the Frost Nova or the Cone of Cold at some point. You may not get the chance to because you might not draw that Doomsayer.
I'm just looking at, like, if you take Cone of Cold and use that this turn, you stop 9 damage. If you pick Ice Barrier and play that this turn, you stop 8 damage. That's just the straight difference if you pick and play straight away. Is Mirror Entity ever worth considering? I don't think so.
Just no. Definitely not.
Just no.
But it's, well, I mean, there's always the split decision of do, no. Should we? No. And you have to have that one player that just goes, no.
So Norway does take the Ice Barrier, but doesn't play it this turn. So not necessarily strictly worse, because the assumption I was making was that it's played straight away. Acolyte.
Instead, just getting the Acolyte Pain, they want more draw. Hunter Ace just wants to get through his deck.
They need more draw badly. Captain Greenskin as a 6/5, that card's even nastier, but it is only buffing a 1/3 weapon. So again, it didn't hit an Arcanite Reaper. That upgrade looks like it's going to be pretty useless too. Norway really needs to pick up a Blizzard. Or a way, most importantly, a way of getting rid of that Captain. Oh, that's good. Because he can just ping the Acolyte and play Frost Nova this turn, and play Ice Barrier too.
Yeah, you look for more and freeze this board. There is damage that can come out of the hand though, which is a little bit scary. You're still in an alright spot here for Hunter Race. It is interesting that we've seen Pirate Warrior being brought. It's through HGT, I think it's actually even 5 and 5, Taunt and Pirate Warrior. So it seems like there is no clear favourite.
Yeah.
At the start of the meta, after Unguro, we were all about the Pirates.
Oh, it's been flipping back and forth.
And then we were all to the Taunts, and then Pirates came back into it.
Ultimately, just 2 very strong decks.
And 2 very particular decks for what you're trying to do, right? One's control and one's aggro, and they're 2 of the best variants that are around of the 2.
Hunter Ace still taking his time here. Ice Barrier Frost Nova was the play that I liked before. He could, I guess he was considering Ice Block and maybe using the Frost Novas later. But no, this just makes too much sense. Oh, Beta Tide Hydra. Revenge's board is getting nasty.
Okay, you know when I was talking about optimal pirate lists? And I was saying how we seem to have found the best list. Bit of Tide Hydra does pop up now and then.
And it's been popping up now and then right since the beginning of the expansion.
Yeah.
People tried it, it seemed bad. People stopped trying it, and now people have been trying it again. And with the more board control-y Pirate Warrior decks, it just makes a lot of sense.
Ice Pirate could be really important in the grand scheme of things. So, all right,
There it is.
There's very much about all this stall
Yeah.
for a Hunter Race, but how does he win the game?
So Frostbolt helps a lot because he can Frostbolt away the 3/3, which debuffs all of the pirates. He can then trade the Acolyte. He can ping the Acolyte and trade the Acolyte into one of them, which draws him more cards. He needs Blizzard, basically. He needs cards that actually don't just freeze the board, but clear it too. If he runs a Flame Strike, that would be the dream.
I think what he really could have done with is a Doomsayer.
Yeah.
Frost Nova into Doomsayer is certainly a way to get back into this game. He's already had to use one of the Doomsayers early on, but he hasn't found the Doomsayer.
Unfortunately, as we can see, Frost Nova into Doomsayer wouldn't actually be good enough because Leroy would come down with the weapon. Actually clear it up. Let's see what he gets here. Second Arcane Intellect. That's not what he wants. He cannot afford to be wasting his mana at the moment. I think Frost Nova definitely comes down this turn, but then he loses the potential for Frost Nova Doomsayer.
And that's what he's been trying to cling on for quite a while.
And then do you think he does Frostbolt the 3/3 or not? Yeah.
Yeah, you use the mana while you can now.
Unfortunately, though, there's no way that he can Intellect into a Blizzard next turn. He just doesn't have the mana to do that. He needs Blizzard to be the next draw, or Flame Strike. Flame Strike would be okay too. It's really hard for Norway here.
A blade be thirsty.
And on the other side, for Malaysia, it's just a case of, well, push damage until he runs out of stall. Yeah, that's not... More card draw isn't great for Hunter Race, really. Does he still have one more Frost Nova?
No, I think he's used them both.
And
he's
typical.
used to Core 2. There's the Doomsayer, yeah. So, okay, silver lining is that he can develop the Ice Block. Maybe draw an Alexstrasza, though the Ice Block gets pops, doesn't it? Yeah, it does.
Well, you play the Ice Block and probably play the Doomsayer in conjunction to try and use it as an absorption of 7 damage.
Yep. If he does that and then draws the Alexstrasza, then he might be in an okay position.
However, the Doomsayer can absorb the damage, but there is still going to be enough on the board for Revenge CCS if he combines it with Leroy to actually just pop the block as well.
Looks like...
Or is he... No, actually, he's one off, I believe. No, okay, no, he won't, because the Frothing Berserker will get buffed up when you run into the Doomsayer. So
look at Malaysia. It's nice to see some enthusiasm.
Malaysia's hands are aloft.
Oh, hands have gone back down again. We don't win just yet. What looked like it was going to be a sweep for Norway actually ends up being a reverse sweep for Malaysia by the looks of things.
A reverse sweep. Not what Norway wanted. It was looking so promising as well when they were 2-0 up.
Not what my co-caster Dan Gaskin wanted either.
I just wanted a good game of Hearthstone, Dan, and I feel like we have had a good game of Hearthstone.
Yeah, but now we can laugh at you because your team's out.
We've had ifs, we've had buts, we've had everything. We've had ups, we've had downs. We've had frowns, we've had smiles.
Smiles from me, frowns from you.
I've smiled a couple of times. Like, when Norway were 2-0 up.
Once, you know, yeah. Well, there's the Leroy.
Yeah, you just pop this block this turn, as well as clearing off the Doomsayer. And then there is no second ice block in hand for Norway. And even if they were to draw Blizzard, it's not going to help them because of the weapon as well.
It's like you were asking me earlier, how did Norway win this? And at that time, it did seem like Norway had a good chance to win it still. But that Doomsayer coming one turn too late has just been a bit of a problem for Hunter Race, let's put it that way. And now he needs nothing short of a miracle. A 9-mana Yoxaran.
Pyroblast isn't going to help. You can Arcanologist into your Ice Block just to survive for another turn. But then again, it's how do we win? You can send 3 damage to face by attacking into the Bittertide Hydra, another 3 damage by pinging it.
So slowly but surely, we'll chip away at that.
Take him down to 24.
Oh yeah, you just draw cards. Just draw cards. Maybe there is something in your deck that you can...
He would have needed, like, what, Frostbolt plus a Frost Nova to even have any chance. Frost Nova, Frostbolt, Ice Block.
Yeah, both Ice Barriers are gone too, right? So that Archaeologist in Hunter Ace's hand isn't going to do anything. He may have been able to outmaneuver the aggro Druid with his Quest Rogue earlier, but not able to outmaneuver this Pirate Warrior, which has just had an onslaught of threats. A board that's gotten bigger and bigger and bigger over time.
Yeah, and I think Malaysia know by this point, and this is potentially Malaysia going through as well. We've got to remember that, of course, there is still China and Singapore to come. If China win that game, Malaysia are definitely through. If Singapore win the game 3-2, I think Malaysia still are through as well. We'll have a look at the standings after the end of this game to clarify.
And if not, then it's still very, very likely they get through as third place,
Yeah.
because it's unlikely that more than 3 teams will have a third place tie on 2 wins. Primordial Glyph. Is there a card that this can grab that does something? Ice Block, I guess, would be the answer there. There's Flame Strike that would have been great turns ago. You just take Arcane Intellect and keep drawing, right? That's what you do when you're in this position where you're like guaranteed the loss. You just keep drawing. Maybe, just maybe you dig something up.
What to do? What to do?
Yep, Hunter Ace is, of course, just looking for any outs, discussing with the team. Is there any way we can possibly stay in this game? You are take Arcane Intellect and look for something. There's that Blizzard you've been waiting for, but unfortunately you're still dead to the weapon. As I said, Blizzard and Frostbolt would have been enough. Even Ice Barrier is not going to save you at this point. Norway clinging on to every last second. Meanwhile, Malaysia are just celebrating the honourable ping to the face. And look at the dances and the celebration from Malaysia. They know they are pretty much on their way to the next round. And a celebration for a friend as well, it would seem there. And now, well, Malaysia, an absolute fantastic performance. Unfortunately for Norway, the land of the midnight sun. I have my sunglasses on for them because it never gets dark. But they are going to fall and won't be able to move forward to the last 16.
I'm just noting down that Malaysia are the most entertaining team to watch because
When winning.
When
Okay.
winning, yeah,
That's important.
because they all the way through that series, the dancing, the arms in the air, like turns before they'd even won. That was quite a spectacle.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what the group standings are like. But actually, let's have a chat now with the Malaysian boys and see how they're feeling after that victory. Guys, yeah, send some shushes around. Make sure everyone's quiet. Can you hear me, Lala Song? I think you're muted at the moment. Can we get that sorted so I can hear you as well? Or is that something that's our side? We'll double check and we'll wait. Otherwise, I really want this interview as well. Lala Song, can you hear me? Ah, that's a shame. Unfortunately, it seems like there's a little bit of a technical difficulty there and we can't actually hear Lala Song, which is a shame. But I'm going to imagine the interview would have gone something like this. How are you feeling? We're feeling amazing! And then more dancing.
Yeah.
And then us saying, well done, good luck next week, and stuff.
Something like that.
Yeah, well, let's have a look at the replays then and see how the game played out. If you have just joined us and you're saying, how did that 3-2 absolutely happen? It was 2-0 at one point. Well, Norway, they started it off well. Hunter Ace was in good spirits with his Quest Rogue.
And again, Hunter Ace just has to be commended on his gameplay with the Quest Rogue. That's 2 weeks in a row we've seen him do what appears to be the impossible and win these horrible matchups against the aggressive decks, which should be incredibly favored.
Should be, yeah, and that can happen in Hearthstone, and that's what I love. The fact that even in an unfavorable matchup, you can still turn it around. Malaysia weren't able to do anything with their Evolved Shaman. Diggen was able to get the victory for Norway and put them in a position they really wanted to be in. If they had won this series 3-0, they had a chance of moving through. It was their only chance, and it was a very slim chance, but there was still a possibility. However, after a great start, unfortunately, things went south.
Yeah, after Diggen's win, this is where it all started to go downhill, isn't it?
It's a shame.
Got great devolve there, just turned that into a 1-1. But
It's a real shame because actually this Norwegian squad is an all-star squad.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised, and I think the players can probably back themselves up on this as well, if one of these players are able to take some form of major in the next year or so.
Yeah. Sadly, though, as you keep saying, 0-3 in the group is not a score you want. I think this. Well, we've been very unsure all the way through Stage 2 of the Hearthstone Global Games, but they're about as close to 100% out as you can be.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are definitely out. They would have known it. They would have known it when they actually were at 2-2.
Yeah.
But they wanted to go out with a little bit of an oomph in the final game. But we actually saw Quest made
This was
from
a
Malaysia.
fantastic game as well.
A really well-played game.
And as I say, it's always beautiful to see this go off. For those of you that haven't seen the combo before, Rotten Reflection means 4 Sorcerer's Apprentice. 4 Sorcerer's Apprentice mean that all spells are 4 mana cheaper. That means Fireballs cost 0 mana, and Antonidas gives you an additional 0 mana Fireball every time you cast one. So that's as much damage as you want, Dan. Doesn't matter how much armor your opponent has, that's as much damage as you want to deal.
We didn't even get to see all the Fireballs as well.
Your only enemy when you're doing that is the rope.
Yeah, the rope is your enemy. Let's have a look at how that group is standing then after the results. So China 2-0, Malaysia 2-1. Now Malaysia was celebrating because they are pretty much there now. If, however, Singapore win 3-0, they'll go 8-4 and they'll just be pipping Malaysia for that second spot. But Norway are out. It is a shame. There are some fantastic players. But next up, we have Philippines versus South Korea. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back very shortly.
We're almost there. Quiet down, everyone. This is not like any of our previous expeditions. This will be far more ambitious. We're stepping into a land of primordial wonder. Infused with astonishing elemental energies. The plant life here holds very unusual properties. So don't touch anything. And while you may be excited to see the local fauna, you might want to make sure they don't see you. Because their powers of adaptation are devastating. Make no mistake, we will be tested at every turn. But if we stay on our guard, we might just survive. Now then, are you ready? Then let's journey into Ongoro Crater.